And you know what I'm talking about. Just let me know if you wanna go to that home out on the range. They got a lot of nice girls.
All right, it's the Mad Dog Show, and I'm the Mad Dog. This young man, he's another man that's never been on the program before. He works at the University of Louisville, Kentucky. We're going to talk to him about vapors, smokeless tobacco, and stadiums, and it's banned. Dr. Brad Rodu is on the Mad Dog Show. Hi, Doc.
Hey, Mad Dog.
It's very happy to have you on the program. You know, I never really thought of that. I know that the year that they banned cigarette smoke in, like, Comerica Park, Jim Leland was the manager. Jim Leland was a chronic, he still probably is, just crushes cigarettes, just crushes. And the late Drew Sharp, and they asked him, well, what are you going to do now that the ban is on, that you can't smoke in the stadium? And he sort of said, oh, yeah, that's right, because they stopped, couldn't smoke, like a few years back, in bars here in Michigan and inside buildings, can't smoke. And that means the stadium, too. I'm sure that Jim Leland got around that, but I know that, you know, you can't smoke cigars, you can't smoke cigarettes, and you can't use vapors either. And vapors, a lot of people have weaned people off tobacco and got them on. I'm just going to ask you your thoughts on vapors and people smoking at stadiums.
Well, look, smoke kills. We know that smokers die from lung cancer, heart disease, strokes, you name it. And we know that secondhand smoke isn't good for you either. So banning smoking, okay, we can deal with that. But banning smokeless tobacco, banning dip and chew in baseball stadiums, there's no secondhand chew. There's no... And in fact, if I told you, Mad Dog, right now, that there's no evidence that dip and chew cause mouth cancer, you'd probably cut me off right now. But a federal study published in October said exactly that. No mouth cancer risk in men who dip or chew. So basically, we got a product that they're banning, which really doesn't cause a whole lot of problems.
All right, Doc. Now we're gonna. This is going to be a nice conversation, Dr. Brad Rodu from the University of Louisville, and I know that this has been a controversy. And I'll tell you right now, I'm sort of a credible guy. My mother passed away from lung cancer. I was her sole caregiver for 2 years. I saw her go through chemotherapy. I saw her go through radiation. She had one vice, and that was smoking. And
absolutely.
My family owned a restaurant for many years. So as far as, you know, running the restaurant like I did, secondhand smoke, I'm an expert on that too. I understand all that. So why is it then? Okay, we're talking about tobacco. Why is it then that there's a couple things in this conversation? They say Tony Gwynn, from all the dipping he did, that caused his death. I know that Curt Schilling, they also had the same problem, that he had a little bit of mouth cancer. Why is it then that Major League Baseball will not let minor leaguers chew in the stadium, in the dugout? You have to be a Major League player to use chewing tobacco. And Major League Baseball is so trident and pro against tobacco. Then go into that.
Okay, so let's talk about Tony Gwynn and Curt Schilling.
Okay.
I'm an oral and maxillofacial pathologist, so I'm an expert with mouth cancer.
Yes.
And Tony Gwynn died from a cancer of his major salivary gland, his parotid gland. Okay? He didn't die of mouth cancer. He had another tumor that's not even in his mouth. And he thought that smokeless tobacco caused it. And I can tell you from reviewing the epidemiologic evidence over decades that smokeless tobacco doesn't have anything to do with the cancer that killed Tony Gwynn. And that was tragic. But smokeless tobacco didn't have anything to do with it. Now, Curt Schilling had a deep throat cancer. He discovered it when he got a lump in his neck. And you would expect a lip cancer or a mouth cancer to be where you put the stuff. And Kurt Schilling had one develop way back in his throat. And I can tell you that no doctor has ever agreed with Kurt Schilling. No doctor that helped take care of him has ever said that he thought it was a smokeless tobacco cancer. This is what Kurt Schilling said, and we've got to take him at face value because we can't get to his medical records to determine if it was something else. And you know what are the main factors for mouth cancer? They're smoking, heavy drinking, combination of both, or HPV. That's called human papillomavirus. And it's the virus that causes cervical cancer, and it can also cause deep throat cancer. So we got to know about all those things too. But the bottom line here is there's no reason to be banning smokeless tobacco in baseball stadiums and among baseball fans. What are they going to do? Do mouth checks when people get into the ballpark? I mean, that's the only way that you're going to be able to prove that anybody's even using this stuff. So this is basically a ban that's been promoted by tobacco prohibitionists. They want all tobacco gone from the United States.
Dr. Brad Rodu is with us, University of Louisville. All right, I want to ask you, and I'm not. This isn't. We're not going to get an argument because I'm following you perfectly. The thing is, I think as far as a fan going to a stadium, I mean, you got to spit, chew somewhere. So, I mean, you got to have your own, like, little personal cup or spittoon, and some people get grossed out of, like, seeing, phlegm and juice coming out of your mouth, spitting in a can, spitting in... That I understand. But why is it that Major League Baseball will let major leaguers chew, but they won't let minor leaguers chew?
It's called the union. The ball players are in a union, and that all has to be negotiated with the Major League Players Union. And they're still pressuring even the major leaguers to give it all up. We'll have to see where that goes. But I'll tell you, the major league players need to also know that these bans are not based on good science and they're not based on good policy. But we'll see where it goes.
Well, how addictive? I mean, heroin is addictive. Nicotine is addictive. I mean, that's why in the turn of the century, I mean, when you watch like the 1919 Black Sox movies like that, or going back in the 60s and 70s, I mean, everybody crushed cigarettes. I mean, everybody crushed
Absolutely.
Cigarettes. They just did. And as far as the addiction of nicotine, it's right there in chewing tobacco, though, too.
Oh, there's no question that nicotine's addictive, and so are cigarettes and chewing tobacco and dip. No doubt about that. But nicotine, while it's addictive, is not the drug that is killing smokers. Nicotine doesn't cause any disease that smokers are succumb to. What happens is the nicotine is the way that smokers deliver what they want, but it's in that smoky delivery system. When you burn something, you create all kinds of toxic chemicals and agents that end up killing over a career of use. And so nicotine's the thing that keeps people smoking. But if they knew that smokeless tobacco was so much safer, then a lot of smokers would switch over and start using nicotine in a much, much safer way.
All right, now I want to ask you about vapors and electric cigarettes and electric cigars and stuff like that. Now, why are they banned from stadiums? I mean, really, I don't know how much. I know that there is a touch of nicotine and different levels of it in some of these vapors. And why are they? Because some smoke that come out of these vapors can bother people. I'm asking you that.
Well, that's true. I mean, you've raised a really great point about e-cigarettes, is that they do produce those vapors. Now, people have shown with research that those vapors settle down pretty quickly, and there's very little exposure of bystanders to secondhand vapor, they're not really getting anything significant. And in fact, the vapor itself is far safer than cigarette smoke because nobody's burning anything. You're only creating an aerosol, and that's a lot safer. But if you're in a room with somebody and they're blowing clouds of vapor into the air, you don't know what's in it. And so it's again a matter of courtesy that people shouldn't vape in public places where a lot of bystanders don't know what they're doing. Now, if they're in their office and the door's closed and they want to sit there and vape, and 10 minutes after they vape, I walk in, I'm not at any risk for any exposure. So, again, it's a matter of courtesy. But it's great that you brought up e-cigs because they're another vastly safer option for smokers who can't quit with the normal methods.
All right, now I'm not going to ask you about medicinal marijuana, but I am going to ask you, where will the tobacco industry be, let's say, in 10 years from now? You live in Kentucky. You live in the bluegrass state. Where do you think the tobacco industry will be in 10 years from now?
Well, a lot of people don't know this. Copenhagen, Skoal, Grizzly, those products, a lot of those products, the tobacco for them, are grown in western Kentucky and western Tennessee. And so tobacco is continuing to be grown here. It's a very profitable plant, crop for many, many farmers in Kentucky. And I believe that what we're going to see is a serious transformation from cigarettes to smokeless tobacco and e-cigarettes. In other words, smoke-free delivery systems that still deliver satisfaction and enjoyment, but they do so for far less death and disease.
Doc?
And I think in 10 years, that's where we're going to be.
All right, Doc, listen, I appreciate you coming on the Mad Dog in the afternoon show here in Lansing, East Lansing. We're definitely going to have you on again because, this is something that could go back like a ping pong table, back and forth. And like I said, seeing how my mother ended up with lung cancer and other people.
Absolutely.
It's awful. It just is. And that's the thing. I mean, if she'd have known how addictive nicotine was and it wasn't fake, that's for sure. I mean, when you're at the end of your life and you're grabbing people's fingers and putting them in their mouth like a cigarette, or you're grabbing pens and acting, I mean, that's how addictive. And I saw that firsthand. And I don't have to tell you, this is what you do for a living. That's the whole thing. I mean, the harm there with the addiction. I mean, everybody thinks it looks she to stand around and smoking a cigarette and you still smell like crap, but people still do it. And it's not because they want to, it's because they need to. Absolutely.
And just a quick one, people can read what I write about tobacco on my blog, Rodu, R-O-D-U, Tobacco Truth. And I totally agree with you. I've spent my career at cancer centers taking care of the ravages of smoking. That's why I want to help people use tobacco in a far safer way. It was great being here today, Mad Dog.
Thanks, Doc. Have a good one down in Louisville, and we'll look forward to talking to you soon.
Will do.
Dr. Brad Rodu. That's why you do it. Spelled R-O-D-U. And interesting. Very interesting. And it's sports related because tobacco, smoking is sports related. It just is. If you don't think it is, it is. On the golf course, it just is. 363-2273. Dan Olson's coming up next.